Civil Parish, near Knutsford, late 2019. Alexander Rodda, born on the 5th of March, 2004, was at the time a 15-year-old schoolboy. He is described by his mother as,
"Alex was very, very special. We waited 9 years for Alex. We were told we would have to try an alternative route of IVF, but it didn't go that far. Alex came and he was a miracle, and he truly was a gift. He was such a joy, such kindness. He was a mummy's boy. He was always hugging me and always calling me mummy. Up until the day he left. He was a very gentle boy. He was such a joy to be around."
Alex went to Holmes Chapel School. He was openly gay. He had a wide circle of friends from his locality, his school, and from his work helping out in a local public house. The then 18-year-old Matthew Mason had messaged the then 15-year-old Alex via Instagram. And a relationship, which began with a kiss, developed into an intimate sexual relationship. They were described as being best friends, and said to have spoken every day. Matthew Mason lived with his family at Ash Farm, Ash Lane, Knutsford. He had a girlfriend at the time. He worked as an apprentice mechanic, and he had a black Renault Clio. On the 3rd of November 2019, Alex messaged Matthew's girlfriend Caitlin Lancashire of some 2 years, and asked if she was going out with him. On confirming that she was, Alex said that Matthew was trying to message him. Alex wrote, "Because I thought I should let you know that the past 2 to 3 weeks, Matt has been trying to message me. He came to my house in his car to meet me last week. But I told him my dad wouldn't let me out, so I didn't meet him. I have told him it has to stop, but just thought I'd let you know before he does a move. And I didn't know he was dating you. Until I went to go follow him on Instagram." Alex suggested that Matthew had been flirty and weird, and had sent him a photograph of his genitals. When Alex found out about them, he told her what had been going on. The 15-year-old then wrote to Matthew, "You have a girlfriend that loves you, there's no need to speak to me." An hour later, he added, "Look, your girlfriend loves you. She doesn't know what to think. Because she and you were together for 2 years, like. WTF. If you were that serious, you should not have got your out at the end of the day. You need to tell your girlfriend the truth, Matt, because I already have." Matthew wrote back, "I'm talking to her. Please don't, Alex." Caitlin split up from Matthew afterwards. Matthew paid £50 into Alex's account the next day, the first of a series of payments totaling £2,020 by November 23, 2019. Alex told a friend that he knew Matthew was paying him for sex. The friend told him it was wrong. Alex replied that if the payments stopped, he would report Matthew to the police. The friend felt that this was akin to blackmail, and told Alex that this was wrong. The friend questioned what he will do if Matthew didn't pay. Alex told him, "I will tell the feds and get him on sex offenders." The friend pointed out it was a criminal offense, and asked Alex when he would stop. There was also an incident When Alex's mother arrived home to find the teenager flustered, and a strange man, Matthew, inside her home, Alex had not told his mother about the relationship, and she warned Matthew to stay away from Alex. On December 4, Matthew made a further payment of £35 to Alex. Alex was late for school the next day. He was marked as absent in the morning, but present in the afternoon. Alex and Matthew were close together, not far from Holmes Chapel School. Shortly after 12:30 p.m., on the 6th of December, Matthew made several internet searches. He Googled, "What would happen if you kicked someone down the stairs? Everyday poison. Things that are poisonous." Later the same day, he carried out more internet searches, including "People missing in Cheshire" and "The mysteries of Cheshire: unsolved deaths of missing people." The pair continued to see each other. Telephone evidence tends to show that they were probably together on the evening of Saturday the 7th of December. Just before 11 p.m., Alex sent a series of messages to a friend, indicating he did not feel well. The friend replied, "That's what you get for being a prostitute." Alex responded, "Money, money, money." He did not attend school on the Monday. On December 9, telephone evidence suggested Alex and Matthew were together on that Monday night. That day Matthew sent Alex a further £102 in 3 separate payments. It left Matthew's bank account cleaned out with just £26.37 left. December 10, Alex failed to attend school and was marked as being late and ill on Wednesday, December 11. December, Alex was told that he would be taken somewhere, where he would have sex with Matthew again. In fact, Matthew, acting in a premeditated way, had, unknown to Alex, armed himself with a heavy spanner or wrench. Alex was off school that day. He was unwell and spent most of the day in bed. Matthew had been at Reesheath College in South Cheshire that day. He studied there as part of his apprenticeship. Shortly before 11:30 a.m., he was captured on closed-circuit television, entering a petrol station. Shortly after 4 p.m., Matthew left Reesheath College. At 16:04 he messaged Alex on Snapchat and began to drive northwards on the M6 motorway. Alex told a friend that he was going to meet a guy to get £270 from him. The friend understood that the man had given Alex money before in order to have sex with him. Matthew suggested they were going to go for a meal. When his mother returned home at about 16:40, Alex began badgering her to let him go to the house of a friend. His mother did not want him to go, but Alex was insistent and persistent. She reluctantly agreed he could go. He told his mother another friend would be picking him up. Alex told a friend, "Howard is this?" before explaining the man he was meeting wanted to meet at a special or secret place in a forest. Alex said that he wasn't keen on this idea and seemed a bit confused. He left home at 17:20 and said goodbye to his mother. Alex wasn't picked up by the friend, but by Matthew. Matthew's vehicle arrived in Holly Grove, a short distance from Alex's home, at 17:22. This is the last time that Alex Rodda was seen alive. At 17:40 the vehicle was captured by CCTV, driving along Ashley Mill Lane. Shortly after 6 p.m., a motorist noticed a black Renault Clio parked near a main track near the woods. The motorist thought it was to do with drug dealing, which had been going on in that area. At approximately 1824, Matthew's car began to move away from the scene. It was captured by the cameras, by a nearby garden center. About 45 minutes after it had been previously captured. The pair were in the woods for 35 minutes. It was during that time that Alex was subjected to a brutal, horrific and violent attack at the hands of Matthew. Alex may have been in the vehicle at 1740, but he manifestly was not in the vehicle at 1825. Matthew Mason had carried out his attack and had simply left Alex in the woods. If Alex was not dead at that time, Matthew had left him to die. The pathological evidence shows that Alex had been subjected to a violent repetitive assault with a blunt weapon, estimated to have involved the landing of at least 15 separate heavy blows. A large part of Matthew's attack was focused upon the head of Alex. Later, Matthew had driven away from the woods and used his telephone to arrange to meet some friends in the Red Lion public house in Pickmere. He went to a friend's farmhouse, where there were showering facilities, in an unlocked-out building. When Matthew arrived at the pub, he wasn't wearing a hat, as had been seen earlier, and his hair was stuck up, as if he had recently removed the hat. Matthew told a friend he needed to go to the farm to clean himself up. He said he had had a nosebleed, and pointed to 3 spots of blood on the left side of his jeans, near his pockets. Matthew had taken a selfie picture inside the pub, and posted it on a group chat. This was to suggest Matthew was laying the ground for a potential alibi. He could say that he was with friends that evening, at a time when Alex went missing. Some 30 minutes, and 1 pint later, Matthew said he was going to meet the young farmers in the Golden Pheasant public house in Bromley. He arrived at the Golden Pheasant at just after 8 p.m. One friend there described him as his normal happy self. He left the pub 90 minutes later. That night he sent his ex-girlfriend a goodnight message, with a photograph of him smiling in bed, with no top on. Alex's mother Lisa had been going out for a meal at the Roebuck public house in Knutsford with a friend. On her way home, she made numerous unsuccessful attempts to call her son. She became worried, and then called her son's friends. Lisa and her son's friends learned that Alex had been out with Matthew that night, but most of their calls and messages to him weren't answered.
Hello, your call cannot be taken at the moment, so please leave your message after the tone.
Matthew eventually spoke to one of Alex's friends, and he told her he had dropped Alex off near the Hermitage near Goostrey and Holmes Chapel at about 6 p.m. and that Alex had said he was going into Manchester with some unnamed friends. They asked why Alex's phone was dead. He said that Alex had asked for a charger, but he didn't have one. Matthew also spoke to Alex's mother Lisa. He told her the same story and offered to go to her house to explain. She wanted him nowhere near her. She screamed at him that she was going to call the police. Cheshire Police sent a text message to Matthew's telephone at 35 minutes past midnight. The message read, "Matthew, could you please contact Cheshire Police on 101 quoting incident IML 587082 with regards to your friend Alex? Thank you." 20 minutes later, telephone evidence suggested that Matthew left his home address in his Renault Clio and returned to the woods. Matthew had tried to move the body, but had abandoned the test, as Alex was very heavy. CCTV images captured his vehicle entering Ashley Mill Lane at 1:09. And it was spotted again at 2:13. Alex's body was discovered shortly after 7:30 a.m. His body was found by the side of the track in a partially dressed state, his upper clothing gathered around his upper chest and neck area, and his trousers and underwear were down around his feet. Alex's body was discovered by some refuse collectors who were driving down the track towards Rickcroft Farm. He was face down and mostly naked when they first saw his body, and they alerted the police, and the scene was taped off and later examined. On a pathway was found an extensive blood deposition, some 20 meters from the body, by the attending forensic biologist. A Home Office pathologist attended at the scene and observed that there were a number of head wounds with significant blood loss onto the ground. Alex died from blunt force head injuries. His body was subjected to a post-mortem examination by Dr. Paul Johnson, a Home Office pathologist. Multiple lacerations were noted to the scalp. The lacerations were associated with prominent deep scalp bruising and complex right-sided skull fracturing. The internal examination showed a possible fracture to the hyoid throat bone in the neck, with associated bruising. There were no asphyxial changes in the face or eyelids to support a suggestion of sustained neck pressure, but forceful gripping or compression was the most likely explanation for the findings. Shortly before midday, on December 13, Matthew was seen by police in Staffordshire, driving on the A41 in the general direction of Telford. The police caused him to stop. He was arrested, and he made no comment when cautioned. Matthew appeared to have scratches and grazing to his lower back, near to his waistband, and also had scratches and cuts to the left side of his face. He appeared to also have dried blood on his hands and fingers. In the boot, police found a blood-stained wrench and other items. Also in the boot was stained clothing that had been worn by Matthew and a length of rope. Matthew was taken to Middlewich Police Station, where he was examined for any injuries. A Home Office pathologist had concluded that his injuries were entirely typical of contact between the skin and rough vegetation and surfaces. This could happen in a number of scenarios, including falling into vegetation, scuffling, and during any dragging of the body. Matthew's former girlfriend kept in touch with him, and she asked him questions about what had happened. In an emotional state, he is said to have told her, "I've killed him." On January 7, 2021, Matthew Mason was found guilty of murdering Alex Rodda. The jury convicted him of murder by a 10-2 majority. Alex Rodda's family made an emotional statement after sentencing.
Our son Alex was a wonderful, gentle, loving, kind, caring, respectful boy who loved life and lived life to the full. His precious life was cut short all too soon at the hands of Matthew Mason. We have never come across a more selfish, cold and calculating person. In an attempt to minimise his sentence, he never once considered the pain he would put our family through, or indeed his own family.